Hi, how are you today? How's everything going? Thanks for joining me. Today I wanted to talk about creative energy for those of you who are struggling with creativity and finding your creativity, using your creativity, contacting your creativity. And I want to start at the first step that I'm going to sort of share my journey, how I contacted my creativity and what happened after that. So that was the first step, and I can only share from my experience of what I've been through and what has happened in my life as a creative and a spiritual and intuitive person. So I hope that that can help you in some way, and perhaps my intention really to make this video is to inspire you in some way to contact your creative energy, become aligned with it, recognize it. It's really, really important to recognize what it is. So if you're at the start of your journey with your creativity and you're starting to realize that you are a creative person, then it's really important to form a relationship with your creativity. Now, that may sound a bit weird, but to personify it like that and to give it an identity is, I think, really, really important, because otherwise it can slip away. And in my experience, from very young, I used to draw a lot, and it was quite instinctive. And you may have heard of me talking in the past about creativity and your inner child and childhood experiences. So when I was young, I was in the creative energy, but I didn't know I was in there. And then I followed that quite subconsciously, and I ended up going to university and majoring in art and fine art. And then I was inspired to teach others, so I became an art teacher. And so in all of this journey, I hadn't really contacted my creative energy, whether that's hard to believe or not. It sounds a bit odd to me now, but it's the truth. I hadn't actually contacted it and made a relationship with it, acknowledged it, got in touch with the energy. The creative energy, in my experience, is not something that you can put into words clearly. It's something that you feel. It's something that you do. It's something that you're in. You're in the energy. It's almost like, for me, it feels like being in the zone. When you, if you do exercise and stuff like that, it's about being in that zone. It's a different zone. It's a creative zone, but it is that feeling. So I'm going to allow myself to pause throughout this video, because it's not something that is easy to talk about, because words can be so limiting. Words can be limiting. But I'm going to try, and until I can perfect talking about it, because this is one of my challenges, and one of my passions is to help people to contact their creative energy. I guess I've been doing it for over 17 years with my students, helping them contact their creative energy. But I haven't spoken about it. They've just been in it. Like I show them how to do something, or I inspire them with a technique, and then I let them go and facilitate their own experiences with contacting their creative energy. But we don't actually talk about the act of contacting that energy. So I need to contact mine and then try and translate it into words, yeah? Because essentially what we're talking about is, when you contact your creative energy, it's something in your subconscious. It's deep, deep down, and it resides in your subconscious, and it's allowed to be released, and it's released from your act of engaging in something creative. And I'm not just talking about picking up a pencil and drawing as I do, but I'm talking about engaging in something creative in the way that you're thinking, cognitively contacting a part of that creative part of your brain that enables you to do things like become a creative problem solver as a mother, to be a work colleague that works well under pressure because you creatively come up with ways to find solutions. You know, creative energy is something that in essence helps us to solve problems, helps us to solve issues. The way that I use it as an artist is to help me to communicate that land that I feel inside, because my creative energy, I've become so familiar with it that it's like another world, it's like another realm, it's like another sense. So, you know, my sight, my smell, my touch, taste, hearing, and then creative energy. It's almost like on another plane. It's not about the five elements or the earthly realm. Yeah, it's quite deep. It's another energy, and it comes for me at the moment in my journey, and this may change. It comes from a certain place. And the first time that I contacted that was with meditation. So sitting and meditating. If you haven't got any experience meditating, there are so many YouTube clips that you can follow. I've done a bit of meditation things, but I don't have them published at the moment. I've got recordings and things. And if you want to meditate with me on guided meditation, just personal message me and I'll pull things out of my archives for you, recordings that I've done, so we can sit together. And you can put me on your phone and headphones and just sit and we can meditate together in that way. But if you already have your own technique to meditate, sit with yourself if you want. I invite you to sit with yourself and invite the creative energy in you to present itself, to introduce itself, to come forward, so that you can learn to form a relationship with the creative energy. Because like any good friendship or relationship, when you form a relationship, you can call on them, you know. Think of that friend that you can always call on, that's going to be there for you night and day. Or your partner, if you're in a relationship with someone you know who's got your back. That's what you can form with your creative energy. That's the sort of strength and bond of relationship that you can form once you contact your creative energy. And so the first step would be to meditate. Now, I know this isn't for everybody. Not everybody likes to meditate or is called to meditate. So I may also suggest journaling, writing, having a dream journal, because it's all part of that subconscious level, yeah? Having a dream journal, so when you wake up in the morning next to your bed, you can have a journal that you can write down your dreams, and you might get images or pictures that you're inspired to draw from, or it might stir ideas, even in your daily life, how to creatively deal with work or your health or your life, yeah? And the other thing that I would suggest for us all is to carve out some time to be creative, so that you can, you know, start to make some time for yourself to be creative. Saying to yourself in the conscious mind, this is my time to be creative, so that I can contact my creative self. And contacting it is not about words. Contacting it is about giving yourself that space to invite your creative energy to come in. And I guess that's why people call it a muse. You know, you might have heard of my creative muse, my inspiration. It's things that we really that are a part of us that we can communicate through a creative way. Let me give you an example. When I used to live in the bush. Well, sorry, if you're not from Australia, you don't know what the bush means. In the forest. I used to live in a forest. Well, on the edge of a forest. I had a house on the edge of a forest. And I used to carve. I used to do limestone carvings. And when I'd get stuck, or when something wasn't going right, or I was in my head, what I would do is I would just stop and I'd get my dog and we'd go out into the forest and walk. And it's just, for me, that was a form of meditation as well. It's just walking and just looking and just clearing your mind. And once when I was in the forest, I realized that I had too much junk in my head. That's why my sculptures weren't working out the way that I wanted them to, and I was getting frustrated because I had a lot of stuff in my head blocking my creative energy. But once I got out to the forest, and it was just this release, being able to release thoughts, ideas, concepts, and then just looking at nature and being inspired again. So when I went back into the studio, I knew exactly what I needed to do, because the inspiration had room to move and room to communicate with me in this body, in my physical body, in through my hands, what needed to come out, what I wanted to come out. And it wasn't something that was like I'm talking about another entity coming in and, you know, I'm channeling what they want. It was more about, you know, what's inside of me. In terms of creative energy, I don't see it as separate from me. If anything, it's a really, really strong part of my spiritual growth. And so to have that in union, I need to be clear. So meditation, journaling, having a dream journal, walking, being in nature, being in a bath, you know, cleansing, meaning like smudging, any ceremonies that you do, crystals, all of those things are tools to help us to clear the clutter of our minds and allow the space for the creative energy, because the creative energy is in touch with the divine. It is the source that, it's almost like the gift that is given to us from source that helps us to unite with the divine. In essence, that's what creative energy feels like to me. And your experience may be different or separated from the divine in some way, but I've spent, I'm going to say my age now. I spent 46, well, I was 45 because I would have been about 1 or 2. No, I think it was about 3 when I started to realize that there was a thing with creative energy. And the reason why I can say 3 is because I have vivid memories of being 3 and noticing things visually, and I still have those memories. So it's been over 40 years that I've had time to have a relationship with my creative energy. So I can say personally that my creative energy is connected to the divine. It's a way of the divine contacting me and helping me to form the macrocosm of what is happening in my life purpose. And it's really helped me to see the reason why I was here. So that wouldn't have come through if I didn't meditate. I wouldn't have had that connection with direct connection if I didn't meditate. But I'm not saying that you need to do that. I'm just asking that you give yourself that space, if you're interested in contacting your creative energy, is to give yourself that space, whatever it is that you need to do to move the clutter of the mind out and allow the space for your creativity to come in. Another way of looking at it would be allowing your higher self to speak to you, and that can be through creative means. And like I said before, it's not only about drawing, painting or sculpting like what I do, but it can also be about scrapbooks, the way you apply your nail polish, the way you design your house, the way you clean, the way you hold a glass, the way you treat others. All of that is part of that creativity that we have inside, and it's a part of who you are. And so the way that I want to give you today as the first step is to carve out the time to be able to form a relationship with your beautiful creative energy. I hope that this video has helped you to see the connection that you do have with your creative energy, and that it is just there, and if it's dormant, it can wake up. If it's awake, may it wake up even more, and may you give yourself that space to do that. And if you're having any problems with that, please contact me here in the comments. If you have any questions or things coming up, and I'll do my best in my 40 years experience with creativity to help you through that as well.